And hopefully we have not forgotten about the first three speakers. This part of the meeting is an important time, so I want to invite our general evaluator up. Please welcome Zack.
So right now we're coming to my favorite part of the meeting. This is where we turn good speakers into great speakers. We've turned people that haven't even been on stage into people that give TED Talks. We want to improve our ability to communicate on stage. And that's not going to happen if we just get up here and make the same mistakes over and over and over again. So we're getting into the evaluation portion. That is when I call up three people that were matched up with the three speakers. So that they would get a critique on what they did, let's say, not so well, and what they did amazingly, and they should continue throughout their entire, career here at Toastmasters. So, I'd like to invite Tyler to the stage as our first evaluator. Please welcome.
All right. Although Serena's not here, she's at an audition for something. We'll have it on video so she can. All right, so Serena, this is her 7th speech, and it was research the topic. That was her main objective of the speech. That means she had to research a certain topic and then go in depth on it and have visual aids to explain everything. This is a very good objective and topic to have because when you go into the real world and certain career paths like consulting, you have to go to a certain client and say, hey, I'm an expert in this. But then the week before, you have to learn everything about it and then try to act like you know everything. When in reality, you only learn about a week. So this is a very useful skill to actually have. And I liked how, for her, she used something that was related to her major, which was psychology and sociology. And having these examples from grocery stores to gas prices, they're all related to things that we see every single day. Some things we don't even think about too, like the pink tax. I heard about the pink tax once, but then I forgot about it, and then now I know. So now I know, never buy anything pink, just buy everything blue. One thing she can improve upon is that certain times when she's saying a certain sentence or saying a certain idea or topic, there are certain times she would stumble on her sentence. And I think it's because when you practice a speech or when you think of a certain way to say something, you want to say it in that specific order with these specific words. But sometimes when you're on the spot, you say something completely different, and you just have to go with it. There are going to be times when you have to say a certain thing in a very specific way with a certain tone, so it comes off the right way. But in the other times, if you say it a completely unplanned way, just go with it. Because for everyone knows in the audience, they don't know what you're supposed to say, and don't know what you're really thinking. So up here, there are no mistakes, unless you really show it. And then finally, I liked how before, when Serena had previous speeches, she always had either a piece of paper or a note card for notes. And this is her first speech that I noticed that she didn't have any of those. This was a really good idea to have a PowerPoint because usually my transition from notes to no notes is to go with a PowerPoint. Because sometimes you can just remember certain ideas, certain topics by just looking at a picture. If you remember a picture of a gas price, you'd be like, oh, okay, this is where I talk about gas prices. And then you see a certain number on it. It's like, oh yeah, you gotta talk about that number. And then when you see a diagram of a grocery store, you'll remember, oh, this is my opportunity to walk through the grocery store and simulate it that way. So using visuals as a way of notes is a way I would say to go from having written notes to bullet points to visual aids. And then eventually, when you don't need visual aids in every single speech, you can just stand up here and just speak from your mind. Overall, I thought it was a very good speech, and I can't wait to hear her 8th. Thank you.
So I really liked your evaluation. There was not only just like specific details with Serena's speech that he critiqued on, but also there's a general sense, and that's really what we want to do as evaluators. Make sure our evaluations aren't just for the speaker that was speaking on stage, but also for us as a group, so that we're not making some of the mistakes that the speakers make, and that we can grow, as a group, as better speakers. So to continue that trend, we'll invite Nadia, who was evaluating Anor. Please welcome Nadia.
evaluating Anora's speech, the main thing he had to focus on was trying to just incorporate his feedback from his last speech. For his last speech, they said he had a lot of run-on sentences. This speech, I noticed some, but not as many. And I'd say to help with that, instead of saying like so and continuing on with like long, drawn-out sentences, try to have some short, like try to plan some short, impactful sentences. Like just have sentences that are a few words long that just get to the point very quickly. It's like something that you could just, like, you know what I mean? Something I think you did really well was captivating the audience's attention. I feel like the most important part of a speech is the hook, just because that's what decides, is someone going to pay attention to your speech, or is someone going to be like, all right, I'm going to sit this one out, just kind of like daydream for a little bit. Your hook was like relatable and captivating. That's something I think that a lot of people need to work on. Instead of being like, hello, hi, my name is so-and-so. You actually came in with something like a rhetorical question that everyone can relate to it. I'd also say that something that helped captivate the audience's attention was that you really utilized this space well. And it wasn't just walking around, you did like hand movements, body movements, you're like twisting, like fake hitting, blocking. I was like, that definitely kept everyone's eyes on you. It kept everyone like captivated, which I'd say is really good. Something else I noticed was you had some voice variety, and I'd say you could use a little bit more, but the bit that you did use was good. When you were saying slow motion, you were like, slow motion. When you were doing the movements, you started slowing them down because you're like, oh, this movement, in my mind, my fever dream, it was slow motion. I think if you utilize that a bit more, it could captivate the audience even more. Just add something more to your speech that other speeches don't really have. Because I know for myself especially, I talk very quickly, and I'm trying to slow down. But that's something that you did in your speech well. I'd say that something you could do better is, see how I'm looking at the floor right now? You didn't really look at your shoes a lot, but you kind of looked at the floor quite a bit. I'd say you could use a little bit more eye contact and trying to get all of the room. Like just try to focus, because there aren't that many people, so if you just make eye contact with each person, just like for a second, that's enough. And I think it makes people like more interested in your speech too. It's like, oh, I'm talking to you, I'm not talking to the floor. Something you do, and I do it too, I feel like a lot of people do it, is when you fumble over your words, when you're giving a speech to multiple people, like to a room, you kind of feel like you need to fix it. You know what I mean? It's like, if I'm going to fumble over something, I want to be like, oh no, this is how you actually pronounce the word. But when I learned like playing guitar, playing guitar, like if you mess up a chord, just keep going. People won't notice it if you just keep going. If you just keep talking like it didn't happen, they probably knew what you meant when you said it the first time. You kind of messed up, you didn't enunciate perfectly, but what you said probably made sense. And I think if you just kept going with that, it'd probably be good. Other than that, great speech.
So great evaluation. I don't know if it comes naturally to you or you were actually preparing, but like I really liked how when you were speaking your suggestions to Anor, you also like motioning, like, and making sure that not only are you telling it with your words, but you're also telling it with your hand motions, your emotions on your your facial movements, stuff like that. So I was actually brought in to your evaluation, kind of like a regular speech that you prepared, except for you came up with it like literally 15 minutes ago. So good job there. And finally, for our last evaluator, I'm going to invite Aqib.
Yeah. Okay,
Aqib to the stage to evaluate Ryan's speech. Please welcome Aqib.
All right, so I did Ryan Charnoky's speech here, 1 in a billion. And first off, I want to say it was very exemplary. I love the way he tells a story. One thing I think you need to work on slightly was your pacing. Because like it was good, but you're kind of walking over here. Sometimes it made it a little distracting for me. But one thing that you really nailed was your hook. It was super engaging. Like you were instantly like, I felt like I was at the crime scene. You're like, oh, black man, white woman. There's a scene of a crime. They're in their car. Police is looking for them. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm totally there. You know. So great way to captivate an audience really quickly right off the bat. Also, you managed to deliver a research speech with a storytelling presence. And that's really hard to do because when you're researching something, you're looking at a bunch of sources and facts, and you have to break it down and from theory to to the audience in a way that's engaging, and that's pretty hard to do. Also, you did a great job explaining probability theory as well as mathematical calculations and stuff, and it refreshed us all back to when we were taking probability stuff in high school, right? So overall, yeah, that's kind of hard to do. You know, you have I want to say you're a natural storyteller. You have a great way of using pauses to your advantage, and you can slow down and suspense and add these elements that really captivate and have someone, like I think it was Tyler that said, keep someone on the edge of their seat. So yeah, that's something it usually takes people a lot of practice to work on. So you did a great job with that. One thing I want you to do to maybe challenge yourself, and next time give a persuasive argument with the same storytelling prowess that you already have. Because that's something that would essentially build a company. Like when you see someone on Shark Tank, for instance, they're trying to persuade someone, but they're also giving a story to make it more interesting. So if you can really nail that down, you know, give a research speech with the persuasion that you're using, and then do you use that to, like, I don't know, deliver a business pitch? That would be something that could potentially make millions. So great job with that. Yeah, thank you.
That's actually something I don't really see in a lot of evaluators, actually making a suggestion that's not like tweaking this or like sort of course correcting, but actually giving a suggestion that might transform just a storytelling speech into a storytelling with a persuasive element. And I think that would actually benefit the storytelling type of speech for them to actually like have because you have heard all this like story, now we can make a decision, or now you can make a decision based off of those facts. So I really like that. And also, is this your first time evaluating?
Yeah.
All right, round of applause for him doing this. The reason why I say that is because there's a lot of first-time evaluators that literally get up here and like, I can only think of pros. You did an amazing job, and usually that doesn't exactly cause the person to grow. Instead, you actually said, you walked around a little bit too much. You should control where you're standing. And also you gave a suggestion, which I really liked. So, timer.
Yes.
Is the evaluators, including you, all in time?
Everyone was in time.
Okay. So, take your time, write down who you think is the best evaluator, and then pass it to the middle. And while we're doing that, I'll call on Grammarian to give his report.
All right. Throughout this meeting, I saw a lot. Well, I didn't see. I heard a lot of different grammarian errors. So starting with Tyler, for his when he was talking in the very beginning, I didn't hear any. Victor, he said he worked a lot on this speech, I know, which is kind of like a run-on sentence. Serena, she said, like, say, when she was comparing gas prices. That's not really a phrase you can use. Honora's speech, you said you had a lot of run-on sentences. You said and. You used and to connect all your sentences, so it was more like you had a total of like 10 sentences in your speech. Ryan, you switched between past and present tense when you were talking about 1965. And Tyler Burnett, you didn't have any. Kirk, you switched between past and present tense. Honor, for your table topics, you didn't have any. Nadia, for your table topics, you didn't have any. Victor, for your table topics, you said, who do you think you is? I think you know what the answer is. Nasir, you didn't have any. Sebastian, you had some run-on sentences. Jose, you said, I'm about to. I didn't, no one recorded me. Zack, you said, you switched between past and present tense for your table topic. And EGN, I didn't hear any. Zack, for your table topic, I mean not for your table topic, for your evaluation, you didn't have any. Tyler, you switched between second person and when you're talking about third person, you were talking about Serena and you're just like, you have to do this, you have to do that. So keep that one tense. Nadia, for your evaluation, you said like a lot, which is more of a awe counter thing, but like has a meaning behind it rather than so I thought I should put that in. And Aqib, I didn't hear anything, and that's it.
Detailed. All right, so let's call up the counter, or stand up and give you a report, I guess.
So, Victor, 7 and 4 so, 6 5 like, 5 1 but, 1 and also. Serena, 5 and 8 so, 5 7 and so, 1 something, 1 but. O'Neill, 7 and 1 so, 2 3 like, 2 5 and so. Ryan, 2 and 6 so, 1 2 and so. Zack, 2 and 5 so, 4 3 5 like, 13 1 and so. Tyler, 6 and 3 so, 6 1 like, 9 3 and so. Nadia, 5 and 5 3 17 like, 1 Aqib, 4 and 1 so, 6 2 6 like, 2 but, 12 Tyler, 3 and 1 so, 2 like, 1 2 and so. Nasir, 6 so, 1 4 6 like, 4 1 and 1 but. Sebastian, 3 and 1 so, 2 1 like, 3 2 and so. Kirk, 5 so, 6 3 and 3 Jose, 1 so, 2 2 like, 3 and so. Mike, 3 and 5 so, 1 like. That's it.
The good news is you can only go up. So I'm so glad I'm done with that. All right, so to wrap up, I'm going to give my evaluation of the entire meeting. I really love the theme of the topics, even though that question for me completely stumped me and I could come up with an answer for any other question. But I really liked how you conducted the meeting. Of course, there was one slip up where I think you didn't call who's the best speaker. And it's a minor detail. You called it later on. So, yet again, very glad I remembered. Okay, so the last thing that I want to say is, I don't know when this started, but I don't like the fact that evaluators have the book with them and a sheet of paper. It seems like notes that you carry up to the stage, with the speech, and we've been told after the third speech, you should be done with notes.